Imagine standing before a monument so ancient, so impossible, that it makes the pyramids look like yesterday's construction project. 5,000 years ago, when humans were supposed to be living in mud huts and hunting with stone tools, someone built something that our modern engineers still can't fully explain. They moved stones weighing 35 tons across hundreds of miles. They positioned them with mathematical precision that rivals today's satellites. They created acoustic properties that modern concert halls struggle to match. And here's the part that will keep you awake at night. We have absolutely no idea who they were. Welcome to Stonehenge, where everything you think you know about ancient history is about to crumble like sand. Standing in the English countryside, surrounded by rolling green hills and grazing sheep, Stonehenge doesn't look particularly threatening. But don't let its peaceful setting fool you. This monument represents one of the greatest mysteries in human history, and possibly one of the greatest cover-ups. The official story is simple. Ancient Britons built Stonehenge over several centuries, starting around 3100 BCE. They were primitive people, we're told, who somehow managed to create this masterpiece using only basic tools and brute force. Case closed. Move along. Nothing to see here. But what if I told you that this official story has more holes than Swiss cheese? Let's start with the most obvious problem: the stones themselves. The massive sarsen stones that form the outer circle each weigh between 20 and 35 tons. Standing in the English countryside, surrounded by rolling green hills and grazing sheep, Stonehenge doesn't look particularly threatening. But don't let its peaceful setting fool you. This monument represents one of the greatest mysteries in human history, and possibly one of the greatest cover-ups. The official story is simple. Ancient Britons built Stonehenge over several centuries, starting around 3100 BCE. They were primitive people, we're told, who somehow managed to create this masterpiece using only basic tools and brute force. Case closed. Move along. Nothing to see here. But what if I told you that this official story has more holes than Swiss cheese? Let's start with the most obvious problem: the stones themselves. The massive sarsen stones that form the outer circle each weigh between 20 and 35 tons. That's equivalent to 6 full-grown elephants. The smaller blue stones, despite their name, still weigh up to 4 tons each. These aren't pebbles you can roll around in your backyard. Here's where it gets interesting. Those blue stones didn't come from anywhere near Stonehenge. They came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles away. Think about that for a moment. We're talking about moving 4-ton stones across rivers, through forests, over mountains, with nothing but human muscle power and basic tools. Modern transportation companies use specialized trucks, cranes, and carefully planned routes to move stones this size. Even with all our technology, it's a complex and expensive operation. Yet we're supposed to believe that people who hadn't invented the wheel accomplished this feat 5,000 years ago? The precision of Stonehenge is equally baffling. The monument is aligned perfectly with the summer and winter solstices. The heel stone marks exactly where the sun rises on the summer solstice. This isn't approximately right or close enough. It's precise to within a fraction of a degree. To achieve this level of accuracy, the builders would have needed advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering. They would have needed to understand the Earth's rotation, the tilt of its axis, and the complex movements of celestial bodies. This is knowledge that supposedly wasn't available to ancient peoples. But what if the builders of Stonehenge weren't primitive at all? What if they were part of an advanced civilization that history has conveniently forgotten? Archaeological evidence suggests that the area around Stonehenge was far more sophisticated than we've been led to believe. Recent discoveries have revealed a vast complex of monuments, burial mounds, and settlements stretching for miles in every direction. This wasn't a simple farming community. This was the heart of a complex society with advanced knowledge and remarkable organizational skills. The Durrington Walls settlement, just 2 miles from Stonehenge, could house up to 4,000 people during peak construction periods. That's not a village, that's a city. The remains show evidence of sophisticated planning, with separate areas for different activities, efficient waste management, and coordinated food distribution. These people weren't scratching out a living in the dirt. They were master builders, skilled astronomers, and organized administrators. They understood acoustics so well that they designed Stonehenge to amplify and focus sound in ways that modern architects struggle to replicate. When you clap your hands inside the stone circle, the sound reverberates in perfect harmony. Spoken words carry with unusual clarity. Musical instruments played at specific positions create haunting echoes that seem to come from the stones themselves. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate acoustic engineering. The mathematical precision goes even deeper. The entire layout of Stonehenge is based on complex geometric principles. The positions of the stones create perfect circles, precise angles, and harmonious proportions that follow the golden ratio. The builders understood advanced mathematics that wouldn't be officially discovered for thousands of years. So who were these mysterious people? Why don't we know more about them? And here's the really troubling question. Why does it seem like their achievements have been deliberately downplayed and forgotten? The first red flag in the official Stonehenge story dates back to the early 20th century. In 1901, one of the massive trilithons was leaning dangerously and threatened to collapse. The solution? A massive restoration project that would make modern contractors jealous. Concrete was poured, steel supports were installed, stones were lifted by cranes and repositioned. By the time the work was finished, significant portions of Stonehenge had been completely rebuilt using modern techniques and materials. But here's the strange part. This major restoration was barely documented and rarely mentioned in official histories. Photographs from the period show cranes, concrete mixers, and construction crews. Yet these images are almost never displayed in museums or educational materials about Stonehenge. Why the secrecy? What were they trying to hide? Some researchers believe the restoration went far beyond simple repairs. They suspect that the entire structure was modified, possibly to hide evidence of advanced construction techniques that didn't fit the official narrative of primitive builders. William Hawley, the archaeologist who oversaw much of the early 20th century excavations, made some startling discoveries. He found evidence of sophisticated tools, precise cutting techniques, and construction methods that seemed impossibly advanced for the supposed time period. His detailed notes describe findings that challenge everything we've been told about Stonehenge. But Hawley's most controversial discoveries were quietly buried in archives and forgotten. His detailed measurements, his photographs of unusual artifacts, his documentation of advanced building techniques, all of it disappeared into storage facilities where few researchers ever see it. The pattern continues to this day. Independent researchers who challenge the official Stonehenge story find their access restricted, their findings dismissed, and their credibility attacked. It's as if there's a coordinated effort to prevent anyone from looking too closely at the evidence. Let's talk about exactly what kind of technology would have been required to build Stonehenge. Modern engineers have studied the problem extensively, and their conclusions are disturbing. moving the sarsen stones from their quarry 20 miles away would have required teams of at least 600 people per stone. That's just for transportation. Lifting them into position would have needed even more people, along with sophisticated pulley systems and precise coordination. The trilithons, those iconic paired uprights with horizontal lintels on top, present an even greater challenge. The lintel stones had to be lifted 30 feet into the air and positioned with millimeter precision. They're held in place by a complex system of mortise and tenon joints that require advanced carpentry skills adapted to stonework. Each lintel stone weighs approximately 10 tons. Lifting that much weight to that height without modern machinery would require engineering solutions that supposedly didn't exist 5,000 years ago. But the real mystery lies in how the stones were shaped. The sarsen stones are incredibly hard, ranking nearly as tough as granite. Shaping them would require tools harder than the stone itself. Yet the builders somehow created perfectly smooth surfaces, precise angles, and complex joints using what we're told were basic stone and copper tools. Recent analysis has revealed evidence of advanced cutting techniques. Some stones show marks that suggest they were shaped using methods that wouldn't be developed until thousands of years later. There are perfectly circular holes drilled through solid stone, smooth curved surfaces that require sophisticated tools, and joining techniques that modern stonemasons find challenging even with power tools. Professor Timothy Darville of Bournemouth University spent decades studying Stonehenge construction techniques. His findings, published in obscure academic journals, describe evidence of advanced metalworking, precision engineering, and organizational systems that surpass anything else found from that time period. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery is this. Chemical analysis of the stones reveals they were transported and positioned during a much shorter time frame than previously believed. Instead of being built over centuries, evidence suggests the main structure was completed in just a few decades. This means the builders had access to massive resources, coordinated thousands of workers, and possessed organizational skills that rival modern construction projects. They weren't primitive farmers working on a community project. They were something else entirely. What if everything we've been told about ancient history is wrong? What if there were advanced civilizations that existed long before our official timelines? What if Stonehenge is evidence of knowledge and technology that challenges our entire understanding of human development? These questions lead us into controversial territory, but the evidence demands we ask them. The megalithic structures found around the world share remarkable similarities. From Stonehenge to the pyramids, from Göbekli Tepe to Puma Punku, ancient monuments display levels of precision, astronomical knowledge, and engineering sophistication that shouldn't have been possible given our understanding of ancient capabilities. These sites often show evidence of advanced mathematics, complex astronomy, and precision engineering. They're built with stones that were transported over impossible distances using methods we can't explain. They demonstrate knowledge of acoustics, geometry, and construction techniques that modern builders struggle to replicate. The mainstream explanation is that these similarities are coincidental. Different cultures, separated by thousands of miles and years, independently developed identical advanced techniques. It's possible, but is it probable? Some researchers propose a different explanation. These monuments are remnants of a global civilization that possessed advanced knowledge and technology. This civilization existed before recorded history and was later forgotten or deliberately obscured. The evidence for such a civilization is circumstantial but compelling. Similar construction techniques appear worldwide during the same general time period. Mathematical and astronomical knowledge appears simultaneously in cultures that supposedly had no contact with each other. Advanced metallurgy and precision engineering appear in archaeological contexts where they shouldn't exist. But perhaps the most intriguing evidence comes from the monuments themselves. When you study them closely, they seem designed to preserve and transmit information across thousands of years. The positions of the stones, the mathematical relationships, the astronomical alignments, they all function as a kind of ancient library encoded in stone. What information were they trying to preserve? What knowledge were they trying to pass down to future generations? And why did they feel the need to encode it so carefully? Today, Stonehenge remains one of the most studied archaeological sites in the world. Yet fundamental questions about its construction remain unanswered. Despite decades of research, millions of dollars in funding, and the most advanced archaeological techniques available, we still don't know who built it, how they built it, or why they built it. This might be understandable if Stonehenge were a simple structure, but we're talking about one of the most sophisticated ancient monuments on Earth. The level of unknowns surrounding such an important site is suspicious. Modern technology has revealed even more mysteries. Ground-penetrating radar has discovered vast underground networks around Stonehenge. There are buried chambers, hidden passageways, and structures that extend far beyond what's visible on the surface. Some of these underground features appear to predate the stone circles by thousands of years. They suggest that Stonehenge was built on a site that was already significant to ancient peoples. But why? What made this particular location so important? Acoustic studies have revealed that Stonehenge was designed as a sophisticated sound amplification system. The placement of the stones creates acoustic properties that enhance and focus sound waves in remarkable ways. This wasn't accidental. The entire structure functions as a kind of ancient sound system. But the most disturbing discovery is this. Modern attempts to replicate Stonehenge construction techniques have largely failed. Despite our advanced technology, our deep understanding of engineering principles, and our access to modern materials, we can't figure out how the ancient builders accomplished their feat. Teams of engineers, using computer modeling and modern equipment, have attempted to move and position stones similar to those at Stonehenge. The results have been humbling. Even with cranes, trucks, and sophisticated planning, the projects have proven extremely difficult and expensive. If we can barely accomplish this feat with modern technology, how did ancient peoples do it with primitive tools? The most troubling aspect of the Stonehenge mystery isn't what we don't know. It's what appears to be deliberately hidden from public view. Archives contain thousands of photographs, measurements, and artifacts from Stonehenge excavations that are never displayed publicly. Research reports describe discoveries that challenge official timelines and construction theories. But these findings rarely make it into mainstream educational materials. Several researchers have documented anomalous artifacts found at Stonehenge. Metal objects that shouldn't exist in Bronze Age contexts. Precisely cut stones that show evidence of advanced tools, and organic materials that produce carbon dates inconsistent with official timelines. When these researchers attempt to publish their findings or present them at academic conferences, they often face institutional resistance. Their access to the site becomes restricted. Their funding gets cut. Their academic careers suffer. This pattern of suppression extends beyond individual researchers. Entire excavation reports have disappeared from public archives. Photographic evidence has been classified or restricted. Key artifacts have been transferred to private collections where researchers can't study them. Why would anyone want to hide the truth about Stonehenge? What threat does accurate historical knowledge pose? Some believe the suppression stems from academic pride. Admitting that ancient peoples possessed advanced knowledge would require rewriting textbooks, revising timelines, and acknowledging that our understanding of human development is fundamentally flawed. Others suggest more sinister motives. Perhaps the truth about Stonehenge would challenge established power structures, religious beliefs, or economic interests. Perhaps the knowledge encoded in the monument is too dangerous for public consumption. Or perhaps the truth is even stranger than we imagine. Perhaps Stonehenge is evidence of something so extraordinary that it would fundamentally change our understanding of human history, our place in the universe, and the nature of reality itself. We've journeyed through 5,000 years of mystery, examined evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew, and confronted uncomfortable questions about the nature of truth itself. Stonehenge stands as a testament to human achievement, but also as a reminder of human ignorance. Despite all our modern knowledge, all our advanced technology, all our scientific sophistication, we remain baffled by the accomplishments of our ancestors. The official story of primitive builders creating this masterpiece with basic tools doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The evidence points to something far more extraordinary: a sophisticated civilization with advanced knowledge that has been systematically forgotten or hidden from view. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't who built Stonehenge or how they did it. Perhaps the greatest mystery is why the truth has been so carefully concealed from us. What are they so afraid we might discover? What knowledge are they so determined to keep hidden? What would happen if we finally learned the real truth about our ancient past? As you look at Stonehenge, whether in person or in photographs, remember that you're not just seeing an ancient monument. You're looking at evidence of a lost civilization, a forgotten technology, and a deliberately obscured history. The stones are still there, still holding their secrets, still challenging our assumptions about what ancient peoples could accomplish. They're waiting for someone brave enough to ask the right questions, persistent enough to dig for real answers, and courageous enough to speak the truth regardless of the consequences. The builders of Stonehenge encoded their message in stone because they knew it would last. They knew that someday, someone would decode their secrets and reveal the truth about our forgotten past. That someone might be you. The mystery of Stonehenge isn't just ancient history. It's a current cover-up, a modern conspiracy, and an ongoing suppression of truth that affects us all. Because if we don't know where we came from, how can we possibly know where we're going? What other secrets are hidden in plain sight? What other truths are we not being told? And what will you do with this knowledge? The stones are waiting. The truth is out there. All you have to do is be brave enough to seek it. If this investigation has opened your eyes to the hidden mysteries of our ancient past, there are more secrets waiting to be uncovered. The truth about human history is far stranger and more magnificent than we've been led to believe.